Tonight, joining forces to fight the fuel crisis, premiers unite plotting a plan to keep supplies flowing. 1 month of war, another dangerous player enters the conflict as many thousands take aim at Donald Trump. A race against time on Sydney's rail network, tracks ripped up, what it means for the Monday morning peak. A wild ride along our coast, daring rescues, but a swell time for some. It's almost showtime. The biggest stars begin arriving at Sydney Olympic Park. And step up Kieran Foran, day one on the job for Manly's new coach.
Live from Sydney, this is 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. A month into the war in the Middle East and we're all now paying the price, mostly at the fuel pump. State leaders rallied this afternoon, trying to get on the same page before an emergency National Cabinet meeting tomorrow. Some are pushing the Prime Minister for fuel tax cuts, others want better communication.
Bulk carrier Pacific Opal lumbers through Sydney Heads this morning on a 16-day journey to Vancouver. A reminder, oil moves far more slowly than its price. March, the month Brent crude roared above $100 a barrel.
So unfortunately, this situation is not going to end anytime soon.
Prime Minister Albanese has called premiers and chief ministers to their second fuel emergency meeting of National Cabinet. The state leaders holding a pre-cabinet discussion late today. Queensland says Canberra has to provide faster fuel price and outage information
for every state and territory, every day, via a national dashboard.
Business now warning the leaders not to repeat the COVID pandemic's hodgepodge of different state approaches.
That was hopeless, and we've got to avoid falling into that trap again.
So that nationally coordination approach continues to be of vital importance.
Tasmania will press for the federal opposition's proposed cut to fuel excise.
We're not talking forever, we're talking in the short term to alleviate the pressures on household budgets.
The leaders to meet as the Iran war begins its second month. The economic impact during the first, punishing. Back then, petrol prices started with a 1, not today. The diesel that drives agriculture and industry rocketing even higher. March bruising too for those with their savings in shares.
I think we're on the edge of a recession here.
As an alliance of service stations reports one of the ugliest numbers to emerge from the March fuel panic, so-called drive-offs, where the motorist simply doesn't pay, rising in some areas by 50%.
People should, of course, be paying for the fuel that they're consuming. We don't need our service stations having even more financial trouble.
National Cabinet's meeting of the leaders is set to begin mid-morning and run for 1 hour. It's likely they'll at least discuss ways they might encourage Australians to work more from home. Also, the Victoria and Tasmania plans for free public transport to drive down fuel use. Potential fuel rationing could be a topic, though the government says we're a long way from needing it. Parliament here will also consider the government's new plan to underwrite some fuel shipments. Likely to expect some chatter here after comments today from Liberal Andrew Hastie. He has gone out well in front of his colleagues to say Australia now needs a major overhaul of its tax system.
Tim Lester in Canberra, thank you. Now to Sam Payne at Central Station. Sam, many Sydney-siders are hoping we follow Victoria and Tasmania's lead with free public transport.
Yes, Mark, with fuel prices going up daily and more service stations running dry, the crisis continues to take a toll on many. But as for making our buses, ferries and trains free, I'm sorry to say it isn't good news for commuters. It's the free public transport push that's picking up steam.
It's a very good idea.
Victoria and Tasmania has taken it on board. Queensland's is only 50 cents, but it isn't looking likely here.
The New South Wales government isn't going down the path of free public transport.
That begars belief in our view. This call is no longer becoming something that is a nice to have for the people of New South Wales. It's becoming urgent.
Train usage is up 4% and the Metro is recording some of its biggest numbers ever. If it was free, it would cost the state government $140 million a month.
I have to be really clear about this. this situation will last more than a month.
Leaving the public to pay. A round trip for a medium-sized car on regular unleaded from Parramatta to the CBD cost almost $10 the day the war broke out, not including tolls. Now it's close to $14. From the Shire, an $11 trip has gone up to $16. And if you're coming from the north, what cost $7 is now $11 daily. Diesel drivers paying more than 40% extra too.
We're also watching some people choosing to stay at home.
Sydney tolls also rising. From Wednesday, the minimum trip on the Eastern Distributor and North Connects will be more than $10. That's up 11 cents. Increases too on the Hills M2 and Westlink M7. In the past 4 weeks, there's now a growing trend of drivers ditching the fuel problem altogether and switching to electric.
We've seen a 30% increase in sales this particular month. I don't see this electric vehicle slowing down for some time yet.
It's a long road ahead. Sam Payne, 7 News.
And while the world's attention has been on the Strait of Hormuz, there are new fears for global fuel supplies tonight, with a second key oil route under threat. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis have now entered the war and could start targeting ships in the Red Sea.
In the arms of a firefighter, a toddler crying but alive. Rescued from the rubble in Tehran as this war enters its second month. And now, a new front. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis officially joining the conflict, launching a missile attack on Israel.
The Yemeni armed forces have carried out their first military operation.
It was unsuccessful. Israel's defences intercepted it, but the Houthis could escalate the conflict and further disrupt global shipping. The rebel group is threatening to close the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, known as the Gate of Tears, where around 10% of the world's oil flows. Combine that with Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz, where around 20% passes through yearly, and the global energy crisis would only deepen. Today, more US firepower arrived in the region, the USS Tripoli carrying around 3,500 sailors and Marines. They're expected to be part of America's effort to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, while back on American soil. Stop Traitor Trump! Stop Traitor Trump! Tens of thousands protesting against the Trump administration and its policies.
We don't have real checks and balances on the administration. The fact that the president is starting wars and bombing people for who knows what reason.
Thousands of rallies held across all 50 states and around the world. Rome, Madrid, Paris and London. The White House calling the protests Trump derangement therapy sessions, claiming the only people who care are reporters paid to cover them.
Trump is acting like a king and a tyrant. He is doing such an injustice to the United States and to the people of the US.
Donald Trump is facing growing pressure to sell his war to the American people. And it's not just these anti-Trump protesters who are concerned, but everyday Americans who are feeling the pinch as fuel prices skyrocket. As Trump fights to win a war with Iran, the loss of life continues to climb. More than 1,500 killed in Iran, adding to the more than 1,000 in Lebanon. 3 journalists in a marked press car killed by an Israeli strike. Israel claims one of them was a Hezbollah terrorist. In Washington, D.C., Miley Hogan, 7 News.
A Kellyville family is picking up the pieces tonight after an out-of-control car slammed into their home, and it could have been much worse. 2 teenagers, both aged 17, were inside the BMW when it ran off York Road just after midday, colliding with a number of trees before crashing into the house. Fortunately, the owners and their children were out at the time.
I can't go back in, I can't get my own stuff, and I never imagined that's going to happen.
The teenagers weren't hurt, but part of the home will need to be demolished. Trains have ground to a halt with 3 city stations closed. Critical track work are being carried out to replace more than 2.5 kilometres of rail along the city circle. It's now a race against time to get the train schedule back on track for the working week.
Beneath a bustling town hall station, sparks fly during a busy weekend of track work. Town Hall, Circular Quay and St James all shut down to complete critical rail repair work to improve reliability. Workers replacing ageing tracks, grinding down joining welds for a smoother journey, and replacing track circuits with newer models, extending their work life to 20 years.
This infrastructure is almost 100 years old. It needs specialist maintenance. Our teams are experts in the field.
At Town Hall, 500 metres of rail will be replaced. At St James, tracks will be cleaned and inspected, while at Circular Quay, track circuits will be upgraded to help improve signal reliability.
The new ones, far more reliable. They'll last 3 times as long, and that'll make a big difference to people's train ride.
And with 2.67 million trips every week on the city circle, a fault anywhere along the line can impact the entire network, with the government's $35 million maintenance program running 6 months ahead of schedule.
Rail network grinding to a halt last May as a result of a single wire. That's why this work is so important.
For crews, this critical work is also a race against the clock, with trains needed to be back up and running in just 12 hours' time, ready for the Monday morning peak.
That's why we need these longer periods of time to take the rail out, to do the critical inspections, reconstruct, test and get it back in service.
Taylor Aiken, 7 News.
Multiple Sydney beaches remain closed today as huge swells pummeled the coastline. Some people ignored the warnings though, and it almost cost them their lives. Let's go live to Nick Overall at DY. Nick, rescuers have been put to the test right along the coast.
That's right, Mark. Despite being told to stay out of the water in some places, there were 8 rescues in Sydney today and 10 statewide. That includes one at the Central Coast at Avoca Beach, where 2 fishermen became stranded on the rock platform. A paramedic had to be winched down to the pair to treat one of the men who was injured in the ordeal. Now, multiple beach closures, including here at DY, didn't stop Sydney-siders from enjoying the water today, north and south of the city. And tonight there is a shark warning as authorities prepare to install 2 new tracking stations in Sydney Harbour. There are fears that cloudy water caused by heavy rain in the last week could result in more bull shark attacks, as we saw over summer.
OK, Nick, thank you. There was an accident with a dose of irony overnight after a car crashed into a smash repair workshop at Camperdown. Neighbours heard the commotion and rushed to help the male driver get out of the sedan. The 33-year-old was treated by paramedics for minor injuries and taken to Royal Prince Alfred Hospital for drug and alcohol testing. And investigators are looking into a car fire at Greenacre this morning. The hatchback was left a smoking shell after going up in flames around 4 a.m. The vehicle was parked in the driveway of a house on Napoleon Road. Firefighters moved quickly to douse the blaze, stopping it spreading to the nearby home. The Minns government is to spend $140 million fortifying and upgrading the state's youth jails to avoid riots and brawls. It's also looking at other options to help keep the calm by housing members of warring gangs at separate sites around the state.
Averting this. Chaos and anarchy inside the state's juvenile justice system. A $138 million investment upgrading the state's 6 youth detention centres. Greater security and specialist teams to de-escalate drama.
Things can turn from a pretty ugly situation to a terrible and a nasty situation. Young people end up then climbing on the roof or put themselves or other people at risk.
The juvenile justice system is home to more than 3,000 kids each year, among them contract killers, armed robbers.
We are talking about the most difficult kids in the state, but that doesn't mean that we give up on them.
The upgrade includes 85 extra beds across the system, as well as more CCTV cameras and body scanners to spot contraband like this.
Some of that is being developed from everyday items, you know, things like toothbrushes.
It's not that there are more young offenders being put behind bars, but a growing need to keep them apart as Sydney's violent postcode wars threaten to erupt inside our jails. Over half the youth prison population has street gang affiliations. The new centre's promising greater security for inmates and staff.
If young people from particular areas had to be separated, we've got places where they can be.
These are very challenging young people from quite disadvantaged backgrounds. We're here to send them out into the community that little bit better.
Clementine Cuneo, 7 News.
Parramatta Eels prop Jack de Belin has launched a $1 million lawsuit claiming career damage from his high-profile rape case. De Belin was sidelined for 3 years during a lengthy trial on sexual assault charges, which were eventually dropped. The 35-year-old claims he suffered unnecessary losses after a police officer lied to the court, further delaying the case. It's a very happy birthday to our Air Force tonight, which has marked its 105th year with a display over the CBD. Sunday shoppers caught the best of it when a giant Hercules swooped above the Martin Place cenotaph right on 11 a.m. The flyby is part of a series of celebrations around the nation this week. It is time to check the weather now with Amber Laidler. And Amber, clear skies, but it was fresh today.
Evening, Mark. Yeah, it was nice in the sunshine until the moment that wind picked up. Southerlies today had some bite, running strong at times along parts of the coast, near gale gusts recorded off the Royal National Park. So it made it feel a few degrees cooler than this today. Tops this afternoon already a few below average, particularly fresh to start the day down at Camden and also out at Katoomba. Even chillier though in parts of the state's inland under those clear skies. It dipped to 2 this morning at Goulburn and at Orange. A very large system of high pressure is to thank for these settled conditions, and it should keep skies clear for now. Temperatures are set to start warming up too. As for how long this sunshine is going to last, your full forecast for the week ahead coming up soon, Mark.
Sounds good, Emma. Thank you. A cancer game changer for thousands of Australians next. A breakthrough drug now cheaper and more widely available. Flicking the switch as Sydney goes dark for Earth Hour. Sweet crime, 500,000 Kit Kat bars missing in a cross-border heist. Animal favourites and hot cross buns, early access inside the Royal Easter Show. And after sport, the deals and perks to look for as health insurers hike their prices again. Welcome back. Australians battling high risk and advanced cancers will soon have access to life-saving treatment at a fraction of the cost. The PBS will expand coverage of the immunotherapy drug Keytruda to include 3 more types of cancer.
Ben Hale knows just how quickly life can change.
I've gone from going, why would this happen to you again, to go, it's more likely to happen again than not.
Diagnosed with head and neck cancer in 2021, a tumour forced surgery and the removal of his right eye. He was cancer-free until earlier this year when 3 new tumours were found in his cheek. But from April 1st, Ben and more than 10,000 other patients will have access to Keytruda.
Keytruda is one of the most extraordinary drugs available in the country.
Already listed to treat 18 cancer types, it'll now include 3 more. Locally advanced cervical cancer, renal cell carcinoma, the most common kidney cancer, and locally advanced head and neck cancer.
For all these 3 cancers, this is in fact a major advancement over a number of years that we have had.
The addition follows strong advocacy from patients like Alan Bridges, a grandfather diagnosed with kidney cancer, who wrote directly to the Health Minister.
One of the most important things, A, it will prevent the cancer coming back with any luck, and B, it gives people in my position hope for the future.
Without PBS listing, the treatment can cost more than $15,000. Now, eligible patients will pay $25, concession card holders just under $8.
It is such a relief to hear that this is now going to be something that I don't have to worry about the financial implications if it does move on to a third occurrence.
And there's hope Keytruda could become an all-cancer listing. Grace Wallace, 7 News.
There have been chaotic scenes in China, a huge fire in an apartment tower killing 3 people and injuring dozens more. The blaze erupted overnight in the country's north. Investigators are still unclear as to what sparked the blaze as authorities work to stabilise the site. The saying goes, have a break, have a Kit Kat, and it might now be a long break for Kit Kat fans in Europe. Nestlé has warned of a shortage of the chocolate bars after 12 tonnes of them were stolen in a heist. That's around 500,000 bars. Police are now on an Easter chocolate hunt as they search for a truck carrying the treats which was stolen in Italy. In a rare sight, it was lights out on the Harbour Bridge overnight, and it had nothing to do with power prices. The Bridge and Opera House joined thousands of homes across Sydney going dark for Earth Hour. The annual event started here 20 years ago and has since gone global, with millions now flicking the switch to raise awareness of climate change. Plenty more still to come on Sydney 7 News. A murder mystery that captivated Australia. Next, police reveal how they outsmarted the killer. Travellers warn the spike in accidents and falls at our airports. Hundreds of millions of dollars in unclaimed Medicare benefits. How to get your share. A warm welcome for the guests of honour at the Royal Easter Show. Police patrolling petrol queues the last time rationing had Sydney on edge. Magic moments in the surf, creating a new wave of champions.
And ahead in sport, Canberra spill the beans at home as Cronulla clean up.
Under a spotlight, the truth has nowhere to hide.
Spotlight uncovers the stories. It's compelling evidence Australians need to know.
How do you sleep at night? I don't.
Everything he touches turns to crack.
Exposing those hiding in the shadows.
Revealing what matters beyond the headlines.
This is Spotlight.
Spotlight returns soon on 7.
Welcome back. It was a case that captivated much of the nation. The 2016 disappearance of Melbourne mother Karen Ristevski. Her body was found in bushland 8 months later. In an exclusive interview for Seven's Kiss and Kill investigation, the lead detective reveals the game of cat and mouse they played to outsmart and finally arrest her husband.
Playing the charade of a concerned husband whose wife had gone missing after an argument.
She's always, walked back in the door after calming down.
8 months later, Boris Ristevski carried the coffin of the woman he killed, even wiping away tears. For 987 days, he denied any involvement in the disappearance and death of his wife, Karen. Now, the detective who led the investigation reveals how they outsmarted a narcissist.
It's all about him. And I think that you could see the way he behaved from the moment that he stood in front of the cameras with his daughter by his side.
Day has now left the police, and while he gave frequent media briefings at the time,
yes, he is a suspect.
He's never publicly revealed how they built their case until now.
There's no doubt that part of Boris's makeup is a certain sense of superiority, I guess, which exists within a narcissist anyway.
Everything Ristevski said or did was painstakingly checked and rechecked. Even when he remained silent, police were profiling him.
As much about what they are saying as also about what they're not saying.
Tim Day says his team borrowed heavily from the case law used in the Jared Baden-Clay investigation. It was a circumstantial case too, with no clear cause of death, relying heavily on post-offence conduct and the suspect's inconsistencies and lies to prove murderous intent. Baden-Clay was found guilty of murder. Ristevski, on the eve of his trial, pleaded guilty to manslaughter.
I don't think we will ever know what really happened in that house.
And like Baden-Clay, Ristevski will be eligible for parole next year.
No justice system is perfect, and we need to continue that reform, which is why we will be criminalising coercive control. And I'll be bringing those laws to the Parliament this year with a view to passing those laws this year.
To listen, visit 7news.com.au/kiss and kill, download on the Listener app or wherever you get your podcasts. Katrina Blowers, 7 News.
Holidaymakers are being advised to watch their step as they head to busy airports this Easter. Brisbane Airport has put out security camera vision of travellers taking tumbles. Many incidents involve escalators, suitcases and young children. One woman at the car park was unaware the boom gate was about to drop. There are more than 180 injuries every year.
We often refer to airport brain. When passengers arrive late and are stressed through the process, that is when incidents happen.
The warning extending to Sydney Airport, which is expecting 2.5 million people to pass through over Easter. If you've been to the doctor recently, you could be owed hundreds or potentially thousands of dollars. Nearly 1 million Australians haven't claimed their share of $272 million in Medicare rebates. It's owed to patients who haven't registered their bank account with MyGov. On average, they're owed $280 each, but there are hundreds missing out on more than $10,000. Services Australia is encouraging everyone to double-check their details online. At the Royal Easter Show, the action starts well before the crowds arrive. Hundreds of trucks rolled into Sydney's Olympic Park today, bringing thousands of animals from across the state, and they're already making themselves at home.
Trucks arrive carrying precious cargo as cattle step out into a world that smells and sounds completely unfamiliar.
They left Dubbo at 1 o'clock this morning and arrived about 7 o'clock.
We're from Delungra, so up near the Queensland border. We're about 600 kilometres away.
This cast of thousands hasn't bought a ticket to Sydney's Royal Easter Show. You don't need to when you're the main event.
We're all here and we all enjoy the social aspect, but we're here to win. We come here to win ribbons.
Today was less farmyard, more fashion week.
Oh, I'm sure they enjoy it. They get a bit of a scratch.
Cattle had a full wash and blow wave, and horses were prepped to within an inch of perfection. While some were camera shy, others were divas. Meet Charlotte, a pig with a serious sweet tooth.
Good girl.
Demanding hot cross buns for breakfast. Woo! Below, the animals settle. Above, farmers do the same, living side by side, just a floor apart.
Well, the countdown is officially on, with gates to the public opening this Thursday. But with thousands of animals already showing us city slickers how it's done, it's safe to say the party has started early.
For these stars, it's not just another day on the farm, it's a whirlwind of noise and attention before all eyes turn to the ring.
And as soon as we get home, we start planning for the next show.
Amy Clements, 7 News.
Yeah, welcome to town. Talk of fuel rationing, and it's happened before. Just ahead, how Australia battled petrol shortages in the past. Rise and shine, Sydney joggers run for a cure. Big bite, a young diver comes up with a 3-million-year-old dinosaur tooth.
And coming up in sport, a nasty crash at the Japanese Grand Prix as Oscar Piastri returns to the podium.
Welcome back. Thousands swapped their Sunday sleep in for an early morning run today to help combat childhood cancer. Taking off from the Domain, the annual Run to Cure event aims to raise $500,000 to help fund life-saving research into neuroblastoma. The rare and aggressive disease claims more lives of children under 5 than any other cancer. Oil wars, petrol rationing and fuel security are nothing new to Australians, but the hardship they cause can be quickly forgotten. Tonight we look back through the archives, uncovering amazing old footage on the first fuel crisis more than a century ago, which had politicians and drivers scrambling.
1973, 1979, 1986. Police on petrol patrol.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you have to move on.
But it was the end of World War I, 108 years ago, Australia first debated fuel rationing. By World War II, with Sydney sandbagged and fuel ships in danger, rationing started. It was 1940. Bags of gas replacing fuel tanks.
The balloon holds enough for 10 miles of travel.
Charcoal burners, another optional extra. Australia's fuel rationing lasting 10 years. You had to have a ration ticket to buy petrol. It helped bring down the government. In 1979, the Iranian Revolution
might lead to a Third World War.
In Australia, petrol queues down the block and strange ads on the telly.
There's at least a dozen ways to save our petrol.
In 1986, a strike at Sydney's Kurnell oil refinery meant odds and evens rationing.
Car registrations ending with odd numbers will only be served on odd days.
Remember when petrol was 65 cents a litre and we were all complaining bitterly about it?
Koshy's 1990 solution switched to gas, like most Sydney cabs.
It's pure vegetable oil.
This made even more sense per litre.
Well, the oil used in deep fryers may not be the best thing for your heart, but it could be a boon for your car.
Like this Mercedes that did a 1,200k fishing trip.
You wouldn't pick it from any other old Merc unless you're behind it. Smells like fish and chips.
A fuel depot destroyed in the desert, fighting to the death over oil tankers. The Mad Max series, an Australian global smash. Foretelling of a world where petrol is in desperate supply. A nightmare envisioned half a century ago. And just as believable today. Patrick Burns, 7 News.
A teenager's diving trip off Florida has turned into a prehistoric plunge. 16-year-old Aidan Andrews was deep underwater with his dad when he found this fossil, a megalodon shark tooth the size of his hand. Experts say the creature swam in our oceans between 3 and 23 million years ago. Health insurance premiums on the rise again. Still to come, finding a better deal and the incentives on offer. And inside the Aussie control room, helping NASA get back to the moon. Don't miss those stories soon on 7 News. But now Matt is back with sport, and Matt, a thriller in Canberra today.
You know what, Fergo? It was one of those Sunday footy beauties, I reckon. Crazy game of footy, tries galore, and the Sharks held on. All the highlights coming up. Plus, day one as the new boss of Brookvale, a nervous Kieran Foran takes charge at the Seagulls. And the Supercars champ who survived this horror IndyCar crash. Interim Manly coach Kieran Foran has ruled out making wholesale changes for Thursday night's game against the Dolphins in Redcliffe. Still in shock after the sacking of Anthony Seibold, the Seagulls legend is confident he can turn things around quickly.
Kieran Foran took charge at Manly for the first time this morning, barely 36 hours after the axing of Anthony Seibold.
Pretty nervous driving into training this morning. It was business as usual, to be honest. The boys did some gym and then we went out onto the field and got through some skills. Huge job in front of me, but look, I've got a great footy team here.
With just 4 days to get ready for the Dolphins, Foran will keep it simple for now.
It's not the week to make wholesale changes at the moment. We need to find a way to win.
While some have questioned the wisdom of throwing a rookie assistant coach into the top job, Foran has heavyweight support.
Kieran Foran coaching this team in the interim time is a huge risk, but I absolutely love it. I love the fact that they've got some Manly fabric behind them.
I know I'm early on in my coaching journey, but you know, I love this club.
At Combank last night, Mitch Kenny's minimum 1-game ban for a hip drop tackle that injured Isaiah Iongi soured another near flawless display from the Panthers.
When the hip drop was first introduced, it was totally different to that, and somehow someone's changed the laws, or I don't know who. I don't know if anyone knows who did it. And so the player gets injured, someone's got to pay for it. So that's just how we do it.
The Eels were totally outclassed in the Battle of the West. Matt Doorey's season-ending knee injury only adding to Jason Ryle's frustration.
Defence is our biggest issue at the moment. Individual lapses in defence, given teams too big a start.
In Townsville, Harry Grant's magical try assist put the Storm up by 10 late.
That was a miracle ball from Harry Grant.
But for the second week in a row, Melbourne were overrun. The Cowboys scored 3 tries in 7 minutes to win 28-24.
We had a good lead there at one stage and we blew it. It's basically the same thing 2 weeks in a row.
Nick Markin, 7 News.
A classic rugby league nail-biter in Canberra this afternoon. The Sharks holding on against a fast-finishing Raiders. It is Canberra's second straight loss at home. Craig Fitzgibbon's Cronulla bouncing back after a big loss to the Dolphins last week.
Sun shining in the nation's capital. The Raiders and Sharks desperate to avoid a 1-3 start. Not the time to see red.
Oh, offside tackle made when player had not run 10.
10 in the bin for Corey Horsburgh. Cronulla immediately made it count.
Better ball there for Wilton.
KL Ero with a second minutes later. Under pressure, time for the Green Machines, Speed Machines.
Savage. How good are the hands? Then the speed. Then Kyo Weeks. Oh, Canberra just find another gear.
party tricks from Seb Chris, around the back no-looker, Hudson Young, right place, right time.
It's ridiculous.
A stud denied Sione Katoa Cronulla's fourth, but they led 18-12 at the break. Savelio Tamale took Canberra back within 2 after the restart, but Xavier Savage's struggles in the air were a clear target for the visitors.
Challenge a bomb and see what can happen.
Lucky for him, there aren't many better on the ground.
Oh yes! Xavier Savage! And this bloke has more X factor than anyone in the game.
But Canberra's hopes literally slipped through their fingers.
And Noah Marks attacked the ball and lost it. And then Cronulla, did they get it back? Yes, they did.
Far from perfect, but a much-needed confidence boost for Cronulla, 34-22 winners.
The most important thing, that the team reconnected and got back to playing some of the footy, albeit a little bit patchy there.
James Manton, 7 News.
A bizarre act in the AFL is likely to see North Melbourne's Tristan Sherry banned for multiple weeks. The ruckman appeared to wipe his own blood on the face of Andy McGrath in last night's 12-point win over the Essendon Bombers.
That's not what you want to see. Now that is horrible. It is a horrible look for younger, for kids out there, for junior players.
And despite expectations of changing to a twilight start, the AFL today confirmed the grand final will stay at its traditional 2:30 p.m. time slot for the next 2 years. Oscar Piastri is back in business in Formula One, finishing on the podium at the Japanese Grand Prix. From third on the grid, the Aussie got off to a flyer at Suzuka.
Kimi Antonelli has dropped 3 places already as Oscar Piastri goes into the first corner in the lead, ahead of Charles Leclerc.
Ollie Behrman crashed on lap 22 and the resulting safety car cost Piastri the effective race lead. He went on to finish second behind Kimi Antonelli, a vast improvement on the first 2 rounds where he failed to even make it to the start line.
Well, turns out when we start these things, we're pretty good. A shame that we never got to see what would have happened, but I think for us at this point to be disappointed about finishing second is a pretty good place to be.
Charles Leclerc completed the podium there, and race car drivers certainly are a different breed. Have a listen to Supercars great Scott McLaughlin calmly explain this terrifying high-speed crash in IndyCar practice.
Describe what happened.
I dropped the right rear, spun, and I was flying backwards. Yeah, I knew I was screwed about now.
How do you reset and get ready for that?
Just get in the car and get going. I can't wait.
Yeah, no worries. McLaughlin went on to qualify 14th, but Will Power also walked away unhurt from a huge crash. He will start from 23rd. Derailing the hype around Gout is becoming a bit of a habit for Lachlan Kennedy. For the second year in a row, Kennedy upstaged the teenage sprint sensation in the final of the 200 metres at the Morrie Plant meet. In teeming Melbourne rain last night, Kennedy held off a fast-finishing Gout in a time of 20.38 seconds.
I mean, every time we race, it's like cinema. I was pretty fried, so I knew I just had to hit it hard and just pray. Just pray and hold on, and I was able to do it tonight.
Yeah, it was a bit rocky. I mean, it is what it is. You know, it's a bit weird, but, you know, the things you learn.
Earlier, Kennedy went close to breaking 10 seconds in the 100 metres. He clocked a wind-assisted 10.03. And the Sydney Kings are 1 win away from the NBL Championship. After dropping Game 2 against the 36ers in Adelaide, Sydney bounced back at home this afternoon, winning 106-93 at Kudos Bank Arena. Kendrick Davis led all scorers with 34. After their heated confrontation in Adelaide, Davis got in Bryce Collins' face again at full time. Because he could. Up 2-1 in the best-of-5 series, the Kings can now clinch the title in Adelaide on Wednesday. Go the Sydney Kings in that one. Fergo, isn't it great to see Oscar Piastri not only get going in a race, but get on the podium as well?
Almost in the top place as well.
Yep.
Next time.
Good one.
Thanks, Matt. Millions of Australians are bracing for yet another hit to the household budget, with private health insurance premiums rising again. And as they continue to climb, many are now questioning whether they're getting value for money.
Montgomery Omaday just received a letter in the mail.
Advice from TUH that the renewals are all due shortly at the end of this month.
His private health insurance bill is about to go up, but as a cancer survivor with ongoing health issues, the 83-year-old says he'll find a way to manage the extra cost.
Certainly will stay on. These are terribly difficult times, but I've seen hardship far worse.
Jasmine O'Reilly's health insurance is under review.
I consider ditching it all the time.
With 2 young boys, a mortgage and business, the family budget is under pressure.
So we're paying a lot of money, about $250 a month, that we just don't get a lot of value for, and value particularly for millennials is really important.
From April 1st, 15 million Australians will pay more. Premiums will rise by an average 4.41%, adding $330 annually for a family with an average priced gold hospital policy. Experts say now is the time to shop around.
It's actually the time of the year when a lot of funds introduce some of their most enticing offers.
Weeks free, waiting periods waived, gift cards, even frequent flyer points are all on offer to customers who switch. Smaller, not-for-profit Frank Health Insurance is trying to stand out by scrapping the classic use it or lose it extras model.
The limit applies across any person on the policy, so you get to share that limit how you like.
If one person needs major dental or extra physio, they can use more of the cover without it going to waste.
So there's nothing like this in the market. It's really unique.
Just make sure to read the fine print. Georgia Holland, 7 News.
Australia is about to get as close to the moon as we ever have when NASA takes off on the first crewed orbit of the moon in 50 years aboard Artemis 2. Australia's CSIRO agency and the Australian National University will provide tracking and communications from the ground.
Look up at the moon, knowing that humans are out there once more and that Australia isn't observing, we're building on our legacy.
If all goes to plan, Artemis 2 will launch on Thursday for its 10-day journey. An ocean full of confidence on the bright side. Next, surf's up, breaking down barriers on the south coast.
And we've got more sunshine on the way. Will it hang around for the long weekend? Your 7-day outlook coming up next.
On 7 News, exclusive, Sydney's pigsty property. How could they live in this?
It was like a horror.
The tenants took off. The cleaners need shovels.
I need to fully suit up and put on a mask.
Who's left footing the bill? 7 News, tomorrow at 6.
Hello again. The mostly clear skies are here to stay for now. Temperatures will start climbing back above average during the week, though. The city's top today of 25 degrees is right on average for this time of year, though it didn't feel warmer than about 22. Right now it's hovering around 21. To the satellite image now, and the coastal low that's whipped up all of that wild surf is slowly moving further offshore. But as mentioned earlier, this high pressure system is to thank for the settled conditions that we've enjoyed across the state today. One of its ridges will become the dominant feature of our weather over the coming days, keeping skies mostly clear here. Onshore winds could trigger a few light falls to other parts of the coast. But midweek, a cold front will slip away to the south. Its associated trough moves into western New South Wales, and as it tracks across the state, we are expecting the next round of showers to arrive. Taking a look around the capitals tomorrow, though, a possible shower up in Brisbane, 23 with cloud clearing in Canberra, mostly sunny in Melbourne. Partly cloudy in Hobart and Adelaide, showers on the way for Perth, sunny and 33 up in Darwin. Zooming in now on New South Wales tomorrow, it's generally looking nice and settled, dry, mostly sunny weather forecast in most parts. There's just the chance of a few isolated falls up in the northeast. Some patchy morning fog about the slopes and ranges, daytime temperatures tending a little below average, but pretty close to here in Sydney and on the central coast. Tops hovering around 25 to 26 degrees in most parts, a slightly cooler 23 degrees along parts of the coast. Partly cloudy skies are forecast, only light winds about 2. Along the coast, we will see swells easing overnight into tomorrow. Those southerly swells running about 2 metres, decreasing to around 1.5 metres by the afternoon, though. South to southeasterly winds running at about 10 knots during the day, becoming east to northeasterly in the evening. But back in the city tomorrow, under those partly cloudy skies, 25 is the forecast top. Now, conditions should remain settled through most of the week. We'll see temperatures slowly climbing back up into the high 20s as well. Friday, mostly sunny during the morning. There is a chance we'll see some showers arrive later in the day. Widespread falls are forecast during the weekend, though, particularly near the coast on Saturday. Tops also dipping back down to around 23, 24 degrees. We'll see how that develops during the week, but looking pretty nice until then, Mark.
Back to work Monday, looking good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amber. Now here's Amy Clements with the bright side.
Down on the south coast, the ocean is opening up to everyone.
And this is the magic moment.
Tell me a little bit about Good Surf.
So Good Surf was founded out of a need in the community, really. We make surfing a lifestyle choice available to people with disabilities, meaning that they can go surfing whenever they wish, when a typical surfer would.
Using specially designed surfboards and beach wheelchairs, volunteers and instructors help participants get safely from the sand and into the water.
I've been surfing for 46 years, but the last 8 years I've lost my sight. When I go surfing with James, he just talks to me and says, okay, there's a wave coming, paddle now. I'll paddle into the wave and then I just ride the wave. It's just like I've always surfed, except he's my eyes for me.
It really has become people's identity. Grace has competed for Australia now and she won bronze medal last November, which was massive, and it gives her meaning, gives her purpose.
Because here it's not about perfect waves or technique. It's about freedom, confidence and making sure the joy of the surf is something everyone can share.
How do you feel when you're in the water?
I feel more at home in the water than I do out of the water.
Fantastic. That is 7 News for this Sunday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening from all the team. I hope you have a great night.